California is full of great horse people. We went to a rescue sanctuary, a rare breeding facility, a one-of-a-kind saddlery, and Hollywood. Hollywood stunt horses are such a mystery. How do they do it? We sought out Rudy Euclid, a legendary horse trainer.
See, I grew up right here, and I was born and raised in California. My dad was a horse trader. All I wanted to do was work in the film business, be an actor, be a, horse trainer, be with animals, be a cowboy. And I did it. I mean, I did it. Come up here. When you start training a horse to do anything in the film business, whether it's lay down or sit down or rear or whatever it might be, you just have to figure out a way to tell that horse, this is what I want you to do. They'll do anything you ask them. If you're smart enough to communicate to them what you want done. And this is my horse Ajax out here. Come here, Ajax. Come here, buddy. I'll warm Ajax up here a little bit this morning, and then I'll make him do a few little tricks. This is just, we're doing some directions with him, some sins. I cross over, send him the other way. They just don't automatically do what these horses do. There's a lot of time and a lot of groundwork that goes in prior to this here. Whoa. You'll have a cue on that horse. Come up here. A lot of times you can't use whips. You get in the way of lights and stuff like that. So you might just get a little stick. You might just wave a finger or something like that. And if you work with him long enough, he'll get that trust in you where you'll figure out that communication between you and him. Shake your head. Shake your head. Good boy. Dig it up. Dig it up. It's fun. It's fun for me. That's just a little bit of some of the things that we do in the film business. Let me bring Woody in here and I'll show you a few things he does. Whoa. How you doing, pal? Here. This Woody, he's just one of the horses that, what we call nondescript horses. You can just put him every place and do a lot of little different things with him. Dig it up. First of all, that horse has to be in condition because he's using muscles that he doesn't use. What about this foot? Just walking and trotting and galloping. Good boy. Give a little bow, stretching all those muscles through his loins, his back. If he's not in condition and he gets sore, then he's not going to do it. You can't teach a horse to do something that's going to hurt him. When they refuse to do something, that's their way of saying, I'm sorry, I hurt there. That hurts me, I can't do it. You can't have that fear. You can't train with that fear. But if I was to do a show with this horse here, I would be the only one that would deal with this horse. I'd be the only one to feed him, I'd be the only one to brush him, I'd be the first one he's seen in the morning, the last one he's seen at night. This horse here, I meant to tell you, is a fallen horse too, by the way. My ground is real soft and it's got a lot of air in it. Don't hurt these horses to go on the ground and it don't hurt them to lay there. These stirrups, they're made out of leather, they're just collapsible. So you don't hurt his ribs when he falls. Horns cut out of the saddle so you don't hurt the rider in case the horse rolls over. We'll take a strap and we'll put it on their leg. We'll lift their leg up. Oh. Hold it up and then we just pull it over with this rein right here. Before you ever take this horse on a set, just stuff like this here, just by making him calm and relaxed and people moving around him, moving around his head. This is the old shot, where they look back at you. Oh, please let me go. We're definitely not cruel to animals in the film business. We make our living with these animals, and if they ask you to do something with a horse and that horse has had enough, you got to step up and say, no, he's had enough. If you're just good to them, boy, they'll give you so much more back. They just reward you so much. I've owned thousands of them, and I don't think I've ever owned one that I'll ever forget. I like each one of them for their own personality, for what they do. You probably shouldn't get as attached to them as you do, but what the heck you do. As long as I make a living where I can feed them and they feed me, we'll continue going on like that. I thank the Lord every day, for giving me the opportunity be in this business. It's the greatest. That's it. That's heaven to me. There's not one thing in this world that I'd rather do than do what I do.
There's a wonderful place in Carmel that rescues horses that are abused, starved, neglected, and they nurse these horses back to health and give them a loving home for life.
Redwings got its beginning around 1991. A small group of horsewomen became aware of horses being sent to slaughter. They had been in the horse world for a long time, and they were shocked. First of all, shocked that this was happening to horses. Secondly, shocked that they didn't even know anything about it. So he backtracked and backtracked until he finally found that one thing, that one driver that sends all horses into various kinds of bad situations. And that driver is that they are being valued for their ability to perform. A horse needs a job, as they say. And what we want people to discover here is that just like any other being, they don't need a job to be valuable. They have inherent value that they are born with, and that if you never ever ride them, they have so much to give to you. People discover how wonderful these animals are just in and of themselves. This is Angel, and hi, sweetheart. And she is named Angel because that's the kind of personality she has. She is extremely angelic and gentle as a lamb. And Angel was found at a slaughter auction. So her owner had taken her there because she had foundered. Not only was that going on in her hooves, but her hooves were not being trimmed, and they grow like your fingernails and they need to be trimmed every 6 or 8 weeks. She hadn't been trimmed in about 2 years, so they were really long and curling back toward her legs. So she was almost completely crippled up and walked like somebody was pulling strings, and she was a puppet. It was very sad. So we outbid the slaughter buyer for her, got her for 6 cents a pound, and she cost us $26.40. And I'll tell you, it's taken us 2 years to get her mobility back, but she's worth it. Huh? You're worth it. She's our baby. For years, when something goes wrong in an animal-human relationship, in our case the horses have always had to bear the burden of that wrongness. This is Honey's quarters, and he was a racehorse. He raced all over the state of California and a lot of time at Bay Meadows. Won a lot of money. He was one of these come-from-behind horses. Unfortunately, one day he was not cooled off correctly after a race, just loaded in a trailer, taken home, and turned out into a wet pasture, and he ran around like a crazy guy and slipped and fell and injured his hip. And that was the end of his race days. His owners just turned him out to pasture with their mares. When his owner died of cancer, this guy and some other thoroughbreds in the pasture ended up very thin, emaciated condition, and a neighbor called us. So he's been here ever since, and not only has he filled out nicely and got all his weight back, but he also, with very good farrier care, you can't really tell that he has a serious injury to his hip. You can't teach responsibility unless you are willing to do it yourself. When we take an animal, it's for life, and we're going to do whatever we need to do to ensure that animal is taken care of. Look at you. Yeah. Now, Lionel was a 3-day eventing horse. He is a German Trakehner. He probably cost someone a lot of money to purchase. But he came up lame. He's got navicular, which is a disease in the lower part of his leg there. And he was sent to a slaughter auction, and that's where Redwings found him. And we were able to purchase him and bring him here. And many people in the horse world wonder why we don't euthanize him with his lameness, but as long as the horse is happy, hi sweetie, and keeps good weight, and he seems to be interested in life, we're going to do everything we can to make him happy. We are a disposable society. That's sad. And that disposability, I think, has a lot to do with the fact that we are a performance-based culture. Most of these donkeys that we have out here are from Death Valley, and they were labeled as non-indigenous to desert areas of California, so the Park Service wanted them removed. Unfortunately, the first way that they started doing that was by shooting them. And they shot actually quite a few hundred before groups like ourselves put up a fuss and said, this is not right. But I'll tell you, donkeys make wonderful pets. They are characters. They're not like horses at all. Every year, donkeys get rounded up, so if people are interested in having a donkey as a family member, they can certainly contact Redwings and we can probably arrange that. And they are great. When I watch these horses, they come, you offer them friendship, you offer them food and shelter, and you know, they don't hesitate. They give it all to you and say, yeah, okay, I'm willing to trust again. So I know that healing is available not for horses, just them, but for people too. This horse is Bonnie. Hi, sweetheart. Hi. Bonnie is an ex-rental stable horse who was being ridden 8 hours a day, every day with a broken back and fused hocks. And this is Snap, and hi, Snap. Snap was one of the horses that we found starving in a guy's backyard. And unfortunately for Snap, when the bad care was going on with him, he was a little baby. He had just been born and was not getting the right nutrition. So the consequence to that is, even though he's getting cared for now, he's very slow mentally. It takes him a long time to learn things. And that's just, you know, going to be his problem the rest of his life. I don't think so. You can let go. He's very, very sweet. He's a young thoroughbred, but he's very lethargic, very sweet-minded. And again, because he has a mental disability. Say one of the sad consequences of bad nutrition. Now the 4 baby drafts that we have, who are most precious, you just have to come out and see them. We got them from the Premarin farms in Canada, and Premarin is a drug that menopausal women have been using for many, many years. But what most women are not aware of is that that drug is made from the urine of a pregnant mare, which is why they call it Premarin, Premarin, okay? And that mare has to be pregnant in order for those hormones and the estrogens to be present in her urine. They have a urine collector connected to their body all the time. So what happens is that once they have their babies, the babies are not needed. They take the babies away, and once a year they have these big sales. And sure enough, they were driving the babies into the sale ring, not one at a time, like they would do if you were going to go buy a horse for an individual or family. They were driving them into the sale ring in lots of 12 to 20. They are being bid on by their pounds, and they're being bid on by slaughter people. That's where these babies are going. And unfortunately, a lot of babies are going to have to die in order to make sure we don't have hot flashes. Since when has competency been more important than kindness? And so Redwings, that is our real mission. Our real mission is to say to the world, in particular the horse world, no, kindness has always been and always should be more important than competence. And when it again becomes that, you will not need a place like Redwings. That's a day we look forward to. Yeah.
Everyone knows how hard it is to sell an idea that's unusual, but this woman did just that. She almost single-handedly brought the Spotted Saddlebred out of the shadows and into the showroom.
My mother had grown up with saddlebreds, and that was kind of the social thing in her day. And then she got married, and the war came, and there was no money, so she had no horses. Well, as soon as things started getting a little better, she thought, aha, I'm going to get myself something to ride. So she just went out and bought herself just an old spotted horse. Well, she liked the color. So then as there got to be more money and things were looking better, she thought, gee, I really want a saddlebred, but I like this color. And so that's how it all started. We had a set of stud books of the American Saddlebred Association, all the way back to the beginning. And so she'd sit and go through all of those stud books, find every horse that sounded like it might be a pinto. They, of course, didn't call them pintos. They called them chestnut horse, 4 white stockings extending over their withers, rump. And so you had to be creative. And she'd buy these, some of these horses she bought over the telephone. And when they'd arrive, we'd be so surprised because they'd have so much more white than we had figured from the description. My mother started raising spotted saddlebreds, so then I took an interest in showing. They weren't good enough to be competitive. We'd never get a ribbon at the saddlebred shows. However, we could go to the pinto shows and we could win everything. And we did that for years. We went to pinto horse shows, did very well. The last time I showed at a pinto horse show was at the national championship. It was in Des Moines, Iowa. We showed 18 times, won 18 classes, and they were tired of us. And so we thought, well, now's the time. And so we took the plunge and started showing at the saddlebred shows. And when we started, the best we could do was maybe a 5th place. People looked down on them, but the reason they looked down on them is because they weren't good enough. They weren't quality horses. But you know, as time went along, we bred better horses. We've been showing pretty top-notch horses for the last 14 years. Now when you go in the ring with a quality spotted horse, you don't get overlooked. In fact, it's an advantage because you don't get missed. I'm crazy about the athletic ability of a saddle horse. My horses enjoy what they're doing. They love it. They're show horses and it's natural to them. My best ones, I've known from when they were 3 days old that they're show horses because they have that charisma, that I'm great attitude. And it takes that and it takes the athletic ability to be a good one. Black and white is very rare. There are lots of them, but there aren't very many nice ones. She's a world-class show mare. I bred her, and I'm just tickled to death that she's in foal, so I've got a shot at getting the black and white. They're spirited and they're full of themselves, but you don't have to have them that way. You can have them just as quiet as any horse. They're easy to train. They're very forgiving. I try to do everything with the horses. I try to have them all broke to ride and drive. Whether they're a harness horse or a saddle horse, they should do both. We try to get them all started as 2-year-olds. And as a matter of fact, we show them, some of them, as 2-year-olds. I'm very lucky. I have a great place to work horses. And I don't think I could work horses just in an arena or just in a barn. I have to be able to go outside and go somewhere with them. Horses do better when you're training them if you're going somewhere. Make life interesting for them, make them have a good time. And my best horses do so well if I can take them down in the valley, down the hill. When they see the deer, they perk up. When they see the birds, they get excited. They watch the rabbits run across. It's important for them to see a lot of different things, and it takes their mind off of anything you might be hassling them over. They're so beautiful. They're really what we've been breeding for years. I come out here 7 days a week, and I come out here 7 days a week because it's what I want to do.
There are so many saddles on the market, but the bottom line for most riders is comfort and security. They want the same for their horses. We visited a saddle maker that feels the same way.
For years, I said a wooden saddle tree only fits a wooden horse. And the theory is that we're trying, and I did years ago, trying to fit a wooden object that stayed in one particular shape to an animal that is going to be in a dynamic motion and move. And what was brought up to my attention with some veterinarians are saying, well, we have these 3 machines, the thermography and the ultrasound, the computerized pad. Why don't we see how well this is working with you? Some of the results when we first started out with this was not something I wanted to see. But because I wanted, and I loved my horse, I wanted to do something better, I knew that if I could make those 3 machines happy, it was definitely going to work for the horse. Okay, what we have here is a traditional wooden rawhide bound saddle tree. And we're going to pretend that it's a horse that the saddle tree basically doesn't fit. And we'll get him out of the way. What happens is that because it's bridging and only touching in the front and back. You can see as I get up here with my body weight that it doesn't change shape. And even if I used a particular pad or gel or whatever, it would still bridge on these 4 places. And that's when we come into the theory of the Boz Spring Flex Airflow Saddle Tree. The whole inside of the saddle tree is full of air. With the new airflow tree, it's on the same existing horse. We still have 1.5 inches of gap underneath. Now as we put our body weight in it, it ends up bending and going down and trying to support the shape. And it not only gives long ways, but it also will give lengthways. If I can grab it and pull hard enough, which I'm pretty strong, you can see that the tree would also give in the bar. That he's constantly changing shape through his back and through his shoulders. So we need something that changes as he changes, not something that fit him when he was standing still in the static form. What we've done now, because we have the flexible tree, I had to put one more system on it to help out the user of the saddle and help out the horse. So what we end up doing is sewing the hook of Velcro in the bottom of the skirt to take the place of the sheepskin. And then we designed a pad that we call a sponge comfort bar, and it has then the carpet put on the top. And because of that, we can peel and stick these different thicknesses of pads to fit different designs of backs of horses. With this new system, we do not need the saddle blanket and the traditional pads that we always used on the back. It's already built into the saddle. They custom peel and stick. You can custom sand them. It's endless on what we can do. And because of that, you don't have a slippage of a saddle and a blanket that's always moving. With the new pad system, we have eliminated probably 85 to 90% of our back problems and been very happy with the product. In my versatile balanced rhythm saddles, I wanted to get that rider at least 7 inches farther forward. What we've done in this seat is we've made the front half low and the back half high, which if you rolled a marble would roll forward and stay in what we call the center of gravity or the riding circle. If you got a teeter-totter and you put a sawhorse in the middle and you made it go back and forth, as long as you were sitting directly over the sawhorse and we put the teeter-totter on a machine that would go 50 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour, as long as you were sitting at the sawhorse, you don't care what the front and the back are doing. But as soon as we stop the machine and start to move you back from that position or forward, and this teeter-totter starts going, then you've got to do a lot of work to try to stay there. And what we're doing on the horse, like the jumper and the polo and the saddle bronc riders and the jockey, they're riding at the center of that sawhorse so that the front and back are doing all different types of things, but they float. They ride the horse, not the seat. We've taken the stirrup and V'd it like a saddle bronc saddle, and this V effect makes this stirrup lock in position. Once he split them into a V, he had more security than any other rider in the world. The next thing we've done is take away all the bulk that's underneath the leg with a big D-ring, about 3 wraps, 2 big old pads. It's equivalent of 2 2x4s stuck under each knee. What we're trying to do is get this so that the rider is close up against the horse with nothing underneath his knee, and so that the contact that he has between the stirrup leather and his leg against the horse is tremendous. She's left lead, and out of left lead. This is 60 days on this young horse, and you'll notice the horse is very quiet. It's hard for people to see that we take horses in 30 days, 60 days and do something that somebody says that it's impossible to do that. And I said, yeah, when I used to ride in that position and I used to have that wooden tree dig into his back and I used to have the bits that crushed his tongue or whatever, I always said it was my horse, and really it was me causing the problems. And as soon as I deleted those problems, then the horse was saying, well, just get up off me, ride me, not the seat. And watch how easy I do the lead changes. Watch how easy I stop. Watch how easy I roll. Watch how easy I follow that cow. And I'm going, this is absolutely a miracle. And the horse was saying, no, it's not a miracle. You're finally leaving me alone. We're working as a team now instead of him being, I'm the sergeant and he's the private. Today we use the old world's craftsmanship, but most of my saddles done all by hand. Sometimes we do use a machine on different parts, but most of it's done by hand. Most of the saddle builders today take these little rollers that have a dot punch, and they will roll that right along that scribe, and you'll see that it just makes little teeny holes, but we use pricking irons, and this is the craftsmanship that is being lost today. These little teeth are on a diagonal, And what happens is that we punch it, we move it, and this is where we get that beautiful stitch that you'll see on that saddle. Once you hand stitch and you have an awl and 2 needles, the thread go in and out like a serpentine, and if one of those busted and come loose, the other one that's going through the holes is still holding it. It's never pulling on thread on thread. They want the quality, they want the craftsmanship, they want something that's going to last them 50, 60 years, and that's what I build. Naturally, a horse has a tremendous amount of balance and support and agility, and I find we hold them up in the position that we ride, and if we can get the riders that 7 inches farther forward in that correct position, they'll start getting confidence. And they're saying, hey, I'm not afraid. I don't lose my stirrups like I used to. I don't feel like he's shooting out from underneath me anymore. I can stay up there and bend him around and stop him. And it's by moving forward and getting in balance and being part of the horse. We have completely changed the thought of the horse world through this saddle.